All right, guys. So welcome to another instance of our insurance tech webinar. This isn't really tech focused. This is actually hiring focused. So in our insurance automation group, I've reached out and was like, hey guys, what is the thing you're trying to solve? And the overwhelming answer was people and hiring and recruiting and trying to find good talent in today's world in the insurance space, which is awesome because at the end of the day, none of our businesses are successful without people. That's just, we have to have people as employees and we have to have people that are customers, and it's a people business. So it doesn't really matter how long you've been managing people, hiring people, we can all get better at hiring and retaining people, creating culture and better leadership in our organizations. It is a lifelong journey. And who better to learn from than Davey and Jeff that have joined us here. We are so excited to have you guys. Obviously, both with amazing backgrounds in running successful teams. Davey, of course, building out a VA company and managing other high-performing sales teams as well. Jeff, of course, with Ideal Traits, which is really completely built on making sure that you're finding the right people and we're assessing them, bringing them on correctly, and it's in your entire organization is about finding top talent. So I know with the two of you guys here, you're going to be able to add a ton of value to the insurance agents that are listening in. So thank you for doing this and doing it in like a very short time period. We booked this and got it live like in a couple weeks, and I know that's you guys have slammed schedules. So thank you so much for prioritizing this, and thanks for being here.
You bet.
Thanks for having us. This is
awesome.
fun.
All right, so let's make sure we're using our time really, really well. So this is not going to be, you guys, like an HR lecture. That's not the point. This is really, the goal is to have really meaningful, in-depth conversation around why agencies struggle with hiring and what they can do differently. And, we really want those of you who are here live, please post questions. Tell us what you've tried, what's worked, what's not worked, and let's collectively try to make this easier for people, right? To get kind of started, Davey, can you give us a little bit of background on how you've gotten to this place where you can advise other businesses on the best way to attract and hire talent?
Yeah, I'd say, thank you, Mariah. I would say the easiest thing to admit transparently is because of failure. When you learn how to do something right, you have to do it wrong first. And in my instance, I've had to do it wrong over and over again. And I just tell you what, team, I've got a lot of failures to talk about. So you can learn from my mistakes. It's definitely a do as I say, not as I have done situation. I have managed sales reps at a 15 billion plus company, over 90 sales reps that had the entire region, entire country, selling premium finance, basically SaaS product, but heavy on relationship, not different than anything that any of y'all are doing in the agencies, trying to sell relationship and trying to build relationship. And then I did that with virtual assistants overseas, in two different specific cultural countries. I mean, Southeast Asia and South America. And I got to tell you, from an experience standpoint, same lessons. Have feedback loops, care about your people, and have a process. This is why I love hopping on with this group, Accelerated Automation. You guys are invested or investing in your sales funnel. You're creating automation to shore up the gaps. I wonder how many people on here have put that much effort and energy into their hiring and onboarding process, because it is just as important to do so, because this is why so many of us go to SaaS or go to, I got a hiring problem, I'm going to hire XYZ or ABC. Just put the energy in it. And that's what I've learned working globally now with different cultures and different people, is you got to give a darn about people, and you got to give a darn about yourself. I'm joining us, as Mariah says, from Kansas City, Missouri, myself, not a spaceship like my background says. So
does look like a spaceship. All right, and Jeff, give us some background as well. So what has led you here, where you've been on stage all over the place, tons of events talking about this exact topic, and what led you here? Give us some background.
Yeah, that's actually where I met Davey and you at these events, right? And so fun. It's virtual, but it's fun seeing you guys and doing this. I love Davey's answer. It's from failure. And with us, when I first started with the company, we just had the assessments. So for those of you who don't know Ideal Traits, we're an online hiring platform, and it started with insurance agents. So I would say this, when I first started, we just had assessments and we had like 100 customers. Well, now we have, thousands of clients that are in the insurance industry. So I'm able to see the ones that are succeeding and the ones that aren't. And guess what the common denominator is for the ones that are succeeding? It is hiring, right? Having the right processes in place. So, I can't say I'm an absolute expert because as you guys were saying, we're always learning.
Mhm.
But always getting better and you know treating the candidate with respect, finding out what they're looking for, and adapting you know to the modern recruiting approach. I think that's really big. So I think this webinar is really important. And I will say this, I had like 4 different Facebook messages of people being like, hey, looking forward to seeing you on the webinar tomorrow. And I had 2 webinars, so I was like, which webinar is it? And they're like, Mariah's accelerated automation. So you're obviously running a good group. Good job, Mariah.
Thank you. I'm glad that everybody that's in the group is trying to continuously improve, because at the end of the day, that's kind of what life is all about. Whether we're trying to improve our businesses, we're trying to be better spouses, better
Yeah.
parents, healthy. Like we're all like trying to improve. Most of us aren't just sitting around being like, nah, I'm good. I'm pretty chill. I've got all this figured out. I don't think any of us do. Um, and Jeff, I think you said something really important there, right? Because it wasn't that you had this big background of like, huge accolades of hiring and managing these big, massive teams, but you've been able to see inside of so many thousands of insurance agencies and how they operate and what the consistent patterns are. And that's a lot of what I got exposed to. Like I was an agency owner, but I
Yeah.
knew very little about the industry when it was just me and my agency. And when I started working with other agency owners, when you have these discussions and you see the trends, it makes it very clear. Like Davey said, the agents that are consistent and they're successful, what leads to that, and so then you can help others replicate those processes and behaviors. And it really does, you guys. It really starts at the top. All of us, from a leadership perspective, can make excuses about our market or our area or our premium or our carriers, but there are agents in all of those markets with those carriers and those people winning. And a lot of it just comes from us, it comes from leadership. So we're going to jump in here. So I'm just going to pose this to both of you guys, whoever wants to answer. And again, those of you guys who are here live, please go into the chat, tell us where you're joining us from, and type questions as you think of them. We will come back and answer them. Where does the average agency make their first critical mistake in hiring?
Jeff, you want that one?
I was gonna say, Davey, you first, but
I'm
I'll
good. I'm good
You
if you
guys are
want me
too
to.
polite.
yeah, you go and then I'll add in because
Yeah,
this is a
I
long
think
one.
yeah, the iteration that I see that is the first mistake is being reactive with staffing,
Mhm.
period.
Mm.
If you are not hiring proactively or having conversations about the future and you only hire when someone leaves, you're dead in the water. You will be on the hamster wheel over and over again, over and over again. There has to be a regular discussion, even if it's you talking to yourself, if you're a sole proprietor scratch agency, right? You've got to talk to yourself or your team about where every domino in your organization fits for the long term. And if you are not growing and developing every member of your team, you are handing them a permission slip to quit as soon as possible, as soon as they find a better opportunity. In big corporations, they call it succession planning. You literally have a meeting at the end of every year and you stack rank or power rank your employees, pros, cons, future roles, things like that. And I know that might seem funny for small agencies. It's not. If you are not continuously investing in the development of your employees, they will invest in their development at your competitor or in a new industry.
Yeah, well said. I mean, that's spot on. I think it does start with the mentality. I mean, how many times do you guys hear in the last few years, Davey, Mariah, nobody wants to work. I gave up on hiring. It's like,
Mhm.
nobody wants to work. Well, then why is there an agency that has 30 employees and that, 80% of them are writing over, this much in premium, times in their book every year. So we got to switch the mindset, have to, or else, you know, it's just, we're going to be reactive and then we're not going to find the right people. So having that proactive approach, having the right processes, but it starts with the job ad too. Like, if you're throwing it out there, whether it's on social media, whether it's on the job boards, you got to make sure it looks good. I see so many people that tell me, oh, Indeed sucks. Well, yeah, Indeed has the most unqualified candidates. But guess what? They have the most qualified. Like, what are you going to do to, it's the biggest. So what it takes is it's just like companies that use Facebook or Google. Why are some of these companies making so much money and so big to help small businesses? Because they know how to do it. They know how to use the SEO. They know how to optimize it and make it, make it so that the small business gets traffic. Well, it's the same thing for job ads. If you don't know how to write a good job ad, make it mobile friendly, make it attractive to the eye of a candidate, get that consultation, you're going to be behind the eight ball. So what I would just say is don't have the mindset that nobody wants to work. And if you're having some struggles, know that the job market has changed. It's about adapting and stay, like Davey's saying, always be looking. It's a timing thing. Don't just look for a month. If you look for just a month, you're going to be more desperate
I
and
used
you're going to get frustrated.
I used to tell sales managers, and I still tell leaders, you should have a virtual bench at all times. And if no one knows what that means, let me define. You should have 10 people that you would hire tomorrow if you could afford it. And you should have identified them, cultivated them, connected with them, established a relationship, credibility, so that you can have them on your back burner, even if you can't afford them. And those folks deserve touches just like your long-term customers deserve relationship touches. So if you don't have a virtual bench for your producers or CSRs, what's going to happen is next time there's a separation or voluntary or involuntary, first of all, I hope you call Jeff and let him work with you. But second
Appreciate
of all, if you're going to Indeed or LinkedIn or any of those places to post for a job after a separation and you don't have a virtual bench, you're going to make the same silly decisions the last time you hired somebody that didn't fit the square peg into the round hole. So a virtual bench is a huge thing. And I mean, look, let's talk about community. Insurance agents are community drivers. You live in your communities, you work in your communities. There better be somebody at the cell phone store, at the restaurant, at the tire shop, at the print company, an up and coming, the son, daughter, nephew, niece of a friend that wants to work for you or that you want them to work for you, right? Have a virtual bench, actually have a list of people and cultivate them just like you would a big prospect. Drop an email once every 6 months. Hey, how you been?
Yeah.
Hey, you have a resume you can send with me? And so I just think when it comes, what Jeff said too is be proactive. If you are waiting until the next separation to hire and recruit, you are too late. Now, have fun digging out, but you are too
Yeah.
late in the process.
I think of those best recruiters that we know, like that work at like huge companies. They build relationships. So even if they don't, take this person from this company to this company right now, they're going to keep building that relationship with the candidate. Now, here's the problem. Small insurance agents, small businesses, they don't necessarily have time to always do that. So that's why, you like what Davey's saying, like drop an email, have some automation, right? Because you never know when that candidate might be a good fit down the road. And your reputation is huge. You might sell insurance to their family or themselves one day. So I think that's pretty big.
Well, that's a ton of information, and there's a couple things I wrote down that I wanted to dive into. So, Davey, you mentioned development of your people. Um, what does that mean? An
Yeah,
insurance
great.
agent might say, "Hey, what do you mean development? Like, all I have is producers and sales reps. I can't
Mhm.
develop them more, but what else could development be?"
Yeah, development means consistently communicating with them about what your goals are as the business. And what I mean by that is consistently communicating through whatever established feedback loop, one on one meeting that you have with them. And in those intervals of communication that you have with these employees, you really have two main jobs. One, continue to communicate the expectations and vision of the organization to them. Are they on track? Are they in line with your values? Are they keeping up on their sales calls? Are they doing those things? And two, asking the other big question, which is how do I get you to there? Right? Here's our goal. This is not a charity. I am not paying you to be my friend. I am paying you to be my employee. Our goal is X amount of customers per month, week, whatever your sales quota is. Follow up question. What do you need to get there? Do you need literacy with AI? Do you need sales training? Do you need to understand the carriers better? Would it help if you did a ride along with a senior rep, right? If you consistently communicate the vision of the organization and follow that up with, and what do you need to get there? If that was all your one-on-one was, you got the coffee, you stand at the desk. Hey, remember, are we on track? Yep. No, you're not. That's okay, because I've created an environment where you can tell me the truth. What do you need to get there? That's development. It's development for the purposes of advancing the goals of the business, but it's development. And guess what? If you professionally develop these people, give them continuing education, you pay $1,000 for a certification, I promise you, you're going to want to write that check. Then you are going to want to recruit for that role 3 times over the next 2 years.
All right, I'm going to play devil's advocate. So I'm going to play devil's advocate because obviously all of us meet with the same type of businesses, and we know that most producers are not consistently hitting their goals, right? But let's say they are. Let's say they are hitting their goals. These are your top performers, and we want to prevent them from leaving. How can you continue to develop a top performer for that retention, that stickiness?
My opinion, to continue to develop a top performer is to consistently, one, incentivize behavior that allows them to grow and develop either financially or professionally inside your organization, or two, help them achieve the work-life balance that they're looking for when they signed up for this job. Because typically, let's just pop the bubble. I've met a lot of salespeople and been a salesperson in a variety of different ways. I did it so I can achieve a work-life balance, right?
Oh, yeah.
You go put up your numbers, you can pick your kids up at soccer practice, okay? So finding the way to transparently say to them, if you hit your numbers, I've got your back, not just, hey, you hit your numbers and where's your activity? That's a dual, that creates a lot of confusion for sales minds. Hey, you hit your numbers and I still need more. That's the quickest way to run off a high performer. So what I would tell you is somewhere between doing the job for free and $1 million, there's a price for their time and their production. And if you don't know what it is, you just haven't found it yet. That might mean you need to dial in what behaviors you need to incentivize into. And maybe it's not numbers. We know this about generations and how they respond to different types of call outs and whatever. I've hired salespeople that are like younger in their career. I'm like, you know what? I'm making enough money, but do you think I'm great? Do you think I'm great? Can you tell me that I'm great? Can you give me a trophy?
With the pat on the back, the accolades,
and listen,
the words of affirmation, right?
Hey, if you don't know when you have your succession meeting in your agency, what is the number one motivating factor for why your employee shows up to work every day, they're about to quit. If you don't know what your buying motives, I'm going to tie it back to sales, right? If you don't know what your buying motives are for your customer, why would they buy from you? If you don't know what motivates the engine of your employee, I've had plenty of sales reps that have been like, look, I just want to hit my numbers and not work on Fridays. Great. Now, my question to you is, and this is where insurance agencies get really sideways. Are you making the square peg fit in the round hole? Where'd you even get the job description? Right? Did you steal it from a friend? Is it really in line with your financial and professional goals of the agency? These are all things that Jeff, I know, has down to a science that I have from a shoot from the hip Wild West, but this is a science that you have to put in place in your operation, or you're going to be on this merry-go-round, this hamster wheel forever.
So Davey, that was a perfect segue, and we didn't even plan it. But the next question I had to follow up on what Jeff started with was the job ad. You talked about creating a job ad. What are the key things that a job ad should have? And I don't necessarily mean like, oh, these are you get, benefits or PTO. Everybody puts that in their job ad. But like, what should that job ad, what kind of message should it send where it's going to resonate and attract people in?
Is this for me?
Yeah.
Sorry about the ESPN alert.
Your name
there.
is Jeff, right? I did say
Yeah,
that.
I thought you said I thought you said Davey there. I misheard you.
I said Davey segued really, really well.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
I'm the CSO, Chief Segue Officer.
Yeah.
So. Right. Well, when he said a science, it's interesting because I get it. Like, I'm a guy who doesn't like to reinvent the wheel, right? So I'm like, yeah, just give me whatever Davey's job description looked like. And you can copy and paste a little bit of it for sure. But it's your agency, it's your culture, it's your career opportunity, it's your compensation, right? We talk about branding ourselves and how we're different. So here's what I would say the three things. Because when you just said that, I thought of it and I want to say a lot, but the three things I would say is a candidate focused opening, right? These people that want top producers. Well, what does a top producer want? They want good comp. They want a plan where they can make really good money, right? So they don't want a cheap agent who's not willing to pay. They want lead flow. Sorry, guys, if you're out there and you don't want to use internet leads and you know the referrals you get, you only want to take for yourself and you just want to give them a list of just a cold call, those days are kind of over. I'm gonna just tell you right now. It might not be. I'm sure there's some agencies that still succeed that do it, but for the majority of you, that's what puts a bad impression on the insurance industry. And you might say, well, Jeff, that's how I started in the business 20 years ago, right? I just had, I'm calling, you know, opening up yellow pages, right? The yellow book, whatever. But it's different now. So you want to talk about the leads you have. You want to talk about all the benefits associated, all the perks. I would say a clear picture of who would thrive in the role. So if I want someone like Davey, I'm going to say like an energetic, upfront type of person who's persistent and not afraid of getting constructive criticism, right? Who's always looking to grow. Okay. And then I would say this is more higher level, but the right keywords, right? Making it mobile friendly, the right job seeker language. Not a lot of agency owners know how to do that. And that's important. So if you don't, I would learn how to do it. And if you don't do that right, you go to a company like ours or whoever that can help you understand how to make your ad look better.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So much about you want to talk to the candidate, not tell them about the role, but
Yeah.
get them excited, right? Interested and motivated. I've seen so many job ads that are kind of depressing. Like
Yeah.
they're kind of sad. Like just, I mean, I wouldn't you want to work somewhere that it sounds exciting, at least on the front end, that there's all this opportunity.
Yeah. A PNC
You
license
said
required, and then, you're going to have to do this and that. And then there's
Monday through
just no
Friday, nine to
description.
five.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna sell insurance. Woohoo! I can't
Yeah.
wait. um, so one of the things you said though, and actually it was the third thing I wrote down, which was culture, because you said copying and pasting. And I want to touch on this for a minute because this is really important, you guys. My very first business coach, all she wanted to talk to me about was the culture. And I was like, I don't have that problem. I have a sales problem. I have a development problem. I have a marketing problem. I have a systems problem. They were all culture problems. And hiring isn't different. And when you talk about your job ad, my job ad isn't going to look like yours or Davey's or Jeff's. Like if you've seen any of my job ads, right? They're like, we are a Christian company. We are
Yeah.
going to pray together. I'm looking for top performers who will be held accountable. We track and record everything. Like it's the job description of our culture. I say things in there like we don't have HR and we joke about it. It's a good thing we don't because we're not politically correct. Like that's my culture. People
I love
come to
that.
work here because of that. People who are burnt out on political correctness, people who want to be able to talk about their faith at work, they come to work for me. But your business may be completely different. Why would you want to attract someone that wants to work in my business if your culture is very professional, very politically correct? Maybe you have a totally different environment that you're trying to pull someone into. And if they are not the right personality fit to fit your culture, doesn't matter how good your system is or your training, they will not work out. They will not be
But
happy.
and you're going to lose candidates from what you said,
I
right?
don't want the people
But
that don't fit well.
right,
We
right.
only need so many employees. Like all of you guys on this call, you don't need 500 employees. You probably need like four right now, or maybe in the next 10 years, you need 15. Think about the number of applicants out there. It is like a needle in a haystack. Be really specific so you can get the right people. Anyways, let's keep
No,
going.
I love that. I just think it's really important. What I always tell people is whether or not someone's going to stick around in 6 months is tied absolutely to the first conversations that you have with them in the recruiting process and whether or not they think that you lied from that moment you promised them. Look, the reality is a job interview process is both parties putting their best foot forward. Let's just say it transparently, right? Hey, from a leadership standpoint, oh, look how great things are here. And we have yes, and we have this and whatever. And that candidate sitting on the other side of the table says, you know what? I don't ever have trouble with motivation and I am great and I'm wonderful and I always sign in on time. But the reality is that the world is weird. So early on, set the transparent expectations about what does the business look like when the grenades start flying. How do we work things out? And here's how we resolve, and we have feedback loops. And I want you to tell me the truth if you think that something about my business is not working, because I can't build my business on roses and unicorns. I have to build it based on things that don't work. And if you set realistic expectations up front, and to Mariah's point, you wear your heart on your sleeve, your people will show up. Stop trying to be everything to everyone. I can't even think of any of the successful agencies I've ever worked with when you're like, hey, what is your ideal client to write some insurance business? They're like, I don't know. We just take whatever. Be yourself, put your values on your sleeve. If you're a Christian-based organization, or you're in support of employing other women, or you like the Boston Red Sox, or whatever your issue is, put it on your sleeve. Those people will show up. They will find you if you put yourself out there. In fact, I think what Jeff's probably going to say is, I would love to lose candidates in that filtering process, so that I don't have to waste my time screening and interviewing people that I won't vibe with.
Well, you could fake it for what? A month, maybe 2 months, 3 months, maybe even a 6 months. But I tell you what, it's just not going to be sustainable. Like
Yeah.
Mariah, who doesn't, she's hiring someone and they are like totally against everything Mariah's saying. But then let's just say Mariah, was like, I'm so desperate though. I need someone. And then she hires them. Sooner or later, the ship is and then it's gonna obviously disrupt her whole staff, which is even worse.
Yep. Sorry, guys. I saw your messages in the Q&A that chat was not open. I apologize. I thought I hit that, but I do see some questions in there. Yep, you're good now. You guys can chat. Great conversation. At the end of the day, right, you're asking someone to spend a minimum probably of 40 hours a week with you. And so being honest is great, because they're going to figure it out anyways, right? They're going to figure it out. If you've hired people and they don't make it more than 2 or 3 months, probably wasn't enough transparency on the front end. Let's talk about personality assessments. That is our next section. What do they tell you? What do they not? Actually, before we do that, you guys, can you go in the chat? Who uses them? Who here actually uses personality assessments? I want you to put in there like a me, I do, yes, something like that. Go into the chat. Tell us who does it. Yes, yes. Oh, we have, who does Davey work for? Davey works for Davey. We'll get there, I promise. Yeah, Davey works for himself. I love it. Okay, perfect. So we have people using personality assessments. Jeff, I'm going to give this to you. I want you to talk about it. This is your area of expertise. The only thing I'm going to say to start this is, if you're going to use them, you got to trust them. But from there, Jeff, tell us about personality assessments. What do they tell you? What do they not tell you?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked me that. So I'm first at this point in my career. I don't like to force assessments on anyone. I know that some agencies out there might have experienced, like, well, I hired this person and the one assessment told me it was wrong and they ended up working out, or this assessment told me they're going to be great and they ended up not working out, right? So I'm not here to force assessments down your throat. But here's what I would say. And I'll ask you this, Mariah. Would you want more information about a candidate or less information about a candidate if you're going to commit 30 to 60 minutes of your time in an interview?
More. I mean, we have them do resumes, we have them do personality assessments, we have them do video interviews before I ever put them on a calendar, before I even actually really ever look at it. Like they've got to do all those, and then I spend time assessing.
Right. And would you rather interview a person who spent 20 to 30 minutes doing your process, or a candidate that just clicked the apply button within a second? You got on the phone with them, they said their license, and you kind of like them. Like, who would you rather do the interview with?
What you have to ask yourself is like, how interested is that person working for you? Because again, like Davey said, you're putting your best foot forward, right? In the job interview. So if their best foot forward is like they half completed an application and then never reached out to you, probably not someone who's going to be persistent in a customer service and sales role. So be aware, I would say, of like the behavior that they're showing you in the hiring process. But what kind of things do you learn in assessments? Like what could an agent expect to see for those that are listening to that have never used those?
Absolutely. So when you're looking at an assessment, right, what do you want to know? Well, their personality, how it's going to align with the role, and how it's going to align with your team. So the first thing we tell our clients to do is, whether they have 1 staff, 5 staff, 10 staff, 20, assess your staff. And then we'll also give you personality results that we know are better suited for certain positions. it's an ingredient, it's a component to having a better successful hire because the percentages show that these personality results are better for sales. They're apt to be more successful in this position. These personality results are better for service. So when an agent opens it up, they'll have the resume and then they click on personality and then they'll be able to read a couple paragraphs talking about their strengths, weaknesses, how to best manage them, right?
Mhm.
It'd probably tell you if Davey took it, hey, he does not want to be micromanaged, right? Do not give him routine tasks. Let the horse run. Do not give him paperwork, right? And I'm sure if we did those things and like he was ever applying for a job, he would hate that position, as a service rep or as someone who needs to be organizing things and doing the same thing over and over. And then also performance index, most assessments have these, including ours. It just breaks down like, hey, are they proactive or reactive? If it's service, you actually want them to be more reactive because they're better at listening and following directions. If it's sales, you want them way more proactive. You don't want to have to even tell them what to do and just have them go out and do it. And then, persuasiveness and convincing. Are they extroverted or introverted? In sales, we typically want them more extroverted. And then structure and compliance. Are they organized? Do they dot their I's, cross their T's? Salespeople, we don't care as much. In fact, like we want them overbooking their schedule. You want to see all red on that schedule, baby. But service, right? We don't want them making too many mistakes. So, as an assessment, right? Rule of thumb is we definitely want them to take the assessment before interviewing, but then also just make sure the traits align with the position you're looking to hire for.
Can I play devil's
Okay, so
advocate?
yeah, I was going to ask a question
Yeah.
really quick, Davey. So, Jeff, are they ever the same? Are they
Personality
ever the
results,
same person that can be really good at service and sales?
hybrid for sure. I mean, I would say a hybrid is like someone who can do like cross-selling and upselling and also service the book. A lot of my independent agents look for that, like an account manager, they call it. But to say like you're gonna have a guy like me or Davey be really, really good at service and want to do that all day long, like I don't think so. I would just say a person who's in between would be good, right? But you can't do everything.
But I also think you owe it to that person to continuously develop them and
Yeah,
have regular conversations about how they may not make the most amount of money in whatever role that they're in if they split time. And if you can find ways to optimize their time with AI or virtual assistants or other team members so that a true personality person can go use their personality or a task-based person can go crush tasks for you,
for sure.
that's your job as the leader, is to continuously talk to them and find out what makes them tick, because these people who are ubiquitously talented and can do a little bit of everything, you know what they do? They get lost and they quit
Yeah.
because they aren't engaged regularly to hone their skills. They might need you to say something that no other leader has ever seen in them. Hey, Jeff, you're really good at sales, and I know you're decent at service, or you're really good at service, but man, if I could just get you over to selling more, we'd hit our goals faster. That's your job as the leader. If
Also,
you're on
here's how
this,
much money you can make, right? And you paint that
yes.
vision in their head.
So earlier I wanted to push back on something that I think is really important. And again, I treat recruiting just like sales. The best recruiters that ever worked with me or for me, if you just kind of squinted your eyes a little bit, they weren't recruiters. They were salespeople. They managed leads. They had a flow. They were professional. They followed up. They were just selling the company or the organization to these people. So the only thing I push back, and I want everybody to be careful of, especially since you're independent agents, is you may not be the most attractive job offering for the young, hungry professional that's out there. And so if they don't finish an application or an assessment, just ask yourself, hey, is it because they're lazy? Or is it because I haven't given them a compelling enough reason to come see what I'm about here at this operation? So just not every time, because it's a good filter if somebody's not going to follow through. But I think hiring and recruiting and what you offer, you should put the same, again, amount of effort and energy in recruiting and getting someone to apply. Because conversely, the people that are available and looking, why are they? You might
Yeah.
need to go recruit somebody, and you may have to ask that high dollar producer that Jeff's going to help you build the ideal intake for them on. You may have to meet with them for lunch 3 times in the next year before they're like, you know what, Mariah, you're actually a pretty great person. I'll move my book of business to you. So
Yeah.
just remember, sometimes, yes, people don't follow through on things. And to be fair, I'm sales minded. So I am talking more about producers and production style people do need to be pushed a little harder, but you might need to make a pitch and you might need to recruit them and cultivate them just like you would any good insurance lead.
That's true. AI, I mean, shoot, I'm so not good with service tasks, but this past 2 weeks, I'm sure you guys are better than me with AI, but I'm learning like crazy right now. And I'm like, yeah, it can help you so much. So depending on what company you're with, if you're able to do this, I mean, a salesperson, they shouldn't be doing any service work, right? Let's be honest.
Shouldn't be doing anything that
Yeah.
is typing in information. And for those of you that think you want to take your high flying, high compensated, sometimes emotional salespeople and teach them the business by sticking them in the office for 6 months, let me see your retention rates. Let me see the last 3 people you separated from. Because I bet it's pretty tumultuous in your producer role. If you think, again, like Jeff said, if you think Jeff and I are going to come to your organization and pound the phones for 6 months to prove ourselves, I'll just go work somewhere else.
Right.
So know what you're bringing in, what you're paying for, and what your obligation as a leader or owner is, not to this person, but to yourself, to avoid one of the most significant costs that most organizations cannot track, which is turnover, training, onboarding, recruiting. I would love it if somebody would ever say, "Hey, you know what? We've realized that we just train and hire and fire people like crazy and it's costing us 20% of our net margin." Well, time to talk to Jeff and figure out your process.
Yep, I couldn't agree more. And that's kind of why I asked that question of if these people are ever the same, right? These really highly motivated, consistent, outgoing salespeople are the same as someone who wants to sit there and work through tasks. And in my experience, you guys, the answer is no. The
Yeah.
fact that the unicorns that might kind of want to do a little both to keep themselves, excited about their job, they are unicorns. They're few and far between. But your highly motivated salespeople, if you give them tasks, they will leave, they will quit. And plus, you are putting them in a role that is not the best for your business. Great salespeople, most of you are probably on this webinar because you can't find great salespeople. I bet you can find customer service reps probably as often as you like, pretty easily. But sales reps are the ones that are the hardest to cultivate and to keep motivated. And then if you find one who's phenomenal at it and you make them do service, you're costing
Yeah.
your business a ton of money because they could do so much more for your business. Put them in those hard roles whenever possible. And those personality assessments, to what Jeff was talking about, are what help you get some insight because it is almost impossible. I'll give you a case study of my own just recently. I hired someone, a lot of sales background, right? His name was Ryan. We left on great terms. He's not here anymore. I actually skipped our process. I actually emailed Jeff after this and was like, Jeff, I don't know what my problem is. Reactivate ideal traits. I got to get my assessments back up. But I hired him. This is like 6 months ago, you guys. Yeah, I've been a business owner for 12 years. Didn't do the assessment. Brought him in, super nice guy. Thought he was a great fit. Culture wise, great fit, hard worker. I'm like, why is this not working out? Why is this not converting? Right? There's key sales behaviors I'm not seeing. I pull in ideal traits. We all do our assessment. He comes back as a networker. For those of you who know ideal traits, literally worst fit for salespeople. We read our personality assessments live on our team meeting. Do you know what the networker one says, right, Jeff? So we're reading
Yeah.
this and
But you
he's in
think
a
they're going to be
sales
good
role.
because
And
they're great at interviewing. Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, this is the most embarrassing thing because it is like, don't hire this person for sales. They're not, I mean, it's all the bad things, you
Proceed
guys.
with caution.
And
Right.
and
Like,
and seriously, it gets read and he goes, well, this is awkward on our team call. And we're all cracking up. We're like, oh my God, how did I miss this? Right. 2 weeks later, he left. He found a different job to literally do networking. And he thanked me. He was like, that personality assessment really made me understand why I was so miserable. Why he's like, because I love the team. I love the job. I don't understand why I wasn't good at it. And that was the difference. And we parted ways with all the best, right? And he is in a job that is exactly fit for his personality. It would have saved me 4 months
yeah.
of
Well,
payroll.
let's
Of
not
payroll. That's a lot of money.
let's not bury the lead here. What did Mariah say? She had a process and she deviated
I
from it.
stopped.
Yeah.
That's an
Ugh.
as honest as a transparent share. So if you can't figure out the last time you hired somebody and they didn't work out what process you deviated, it's probably because you didn't have a process.
Mm-hmm.
So look, I love personality assessments too. My favorite thing right now is the Enneagram stuff because it's typecast me completely. But any personality assessment is insight, to Jeff's point. Like, why would you, which is the best to use? Luis, that's a question. It always comes up. There is no best one, in my opinion. You just got
Mm-mm.
to do something. And just remember that, like, to Mariah's example, not every person that passes the personality test from a fit should you hire, but you
Mm-hmm.
probably shouldn't hire anybody that you don't
Piece of the
personality
puzzle.
assess either.
Yes,
Right.
it's a piece of the puzzle, but you shouldn't skip that.
And if you just are desperate and you're like, I only got one person that passed the personality test, so I'm going to hire him.
Then
Call
go
me
back
in
to the first part of our conversation about the job ad.
Call me in,
Rewatch that.
yeah, call me in 4 months when you fire them and wasted 4 months of payroll. Do not
Yeah.
just hire somebody who can fog a mirror. And conversely, I think another conversation that comes up, especially when it comes to personality tests, I have found that seasoned veterans that have big books of business who be willing to move don't always fit the personality test profile. So you got to assign some weights because you can
Mm-hmm.
be a business owner and say, "Hey man, this is not necessarily a personality fit, but they're willing to bring their book of business. Maybe as they come in, I kind of need to reposition them a little bit, but still compensate them if we're acquiring a book or buying an agency or whatever thing." So, and conversely, the most adaptability that you'll get in a salesperson is raw talent over experience. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk on that.
So, as we wrap up personality assessments, I want to say one other thing for you guys. For those of you who have been doing personality assessments or who haven't, so Luis, for your question, who's best? Ideal Traits is really uniquely positioned for insurance agents. So, I would definitely look at that. Plus, it can help you with the job posting and like the interviews and the video interviews. They have a ton of stuff. It's not just a personality assessment. There's DISC profile, there's Berkman personality assessment that are just those, but it's not kind of like a hiring platform. So, to answer that question, but I wanted to touch on this as well. I want you guys to keep in mind that personality assessment results change over time.
Yeah.
They are not the same. So if you have a team who's been there for a long time too, and you're trying to motivate and develop them, have them do it. I have had 4 different personality assessment results with different platforms that tell me I'm better at different things, but they're like 10 years apart because your people will change. So someone who's been in sales forever might actually not be great at sales anymore. They might be more of someone who does build networks. Their personalities change over time. So don't think it's super static either. So keep an eye on that.
Well,
Um, Next
quick,
topic is going to be VAs, but go ahead.
yeah, I was just say quick story. I had one of my best employees that ever worked for me who early on in her career, she took a personality test that was not fit for sales because at the time in her personal life, she was staying at home and caring for her children. And about 6 years later, she took the same personality test that was endorsed by the company, and it was a complete change. In
Mhm.
fact, it alerted HR. HR was like, which one did you lie on? Did you lie on the early one or this one? People's circumstances change and it does affect their output. And so just had to go back to that there's some wiggle room in these personality assessments. And then
And I know we got
VAs.
to move, Mariah,
Yeah.
but just so people know too, like the assessments are going to be a little when they're younger, right? I've done a lot of tests on this with like people in college and people in high school. Like their numbers sometimes are all over the place. Why? Because personality changes over time. So from 3 areas, right? It's how you were born, one, but then the role models and environment. So the older you are in your career, the people that do like our assessment, the numbers are so steady. Like they know themselves, self-perception, under pressure, and what they know others think of them, or they think others think of them. And it's funny when you assess people like just out of college, a lot of them come back as networkers, like you were saying, because they just don't know, right, what they want to do. So take note of that and always assess your team every like 2 years. Like you said, things are going to change, and the coaching they get, it might motivate them to a different role, and their personality can change over time.
Yeah. And do it with your team. Do it for yourself. It's
Yeah.
very eye-opening as well. All right. So we've talked about hiring people, top talent. We really haven't decided or talked about whether this is like in office or remote or overseas. But a key piece of hiring that the insurance industry in general still doesn't always go to, I don't think quick enough, is overseas help, the virtual employee, which is just you guys, a employee you hire that works in a different country, and hopefully you're hiring them through a firm so that you have protection, legal protection and stuff. You're not doing direct. That is a whole can of worms. But when does bringing on a VA actually make sense for an insurance agency? And where do agencies go wrong with overseas or virtual employees?
Davey, you go. You hit that one.
Yeah, it makes sense whenever you should be hiring not for reaction, but capacity, number one. And two, it is a prerequisite that you are a good manager, delegator, you have a feedback loop, even committed to the virtual assistant. Stop thinking of your virtual assistants as not human beings. They are going to need just as much love, appreciation, feedback loop, expectations, incentivization as any other employee. In fact, they might need it more because they don't get to stand at the water cooler with everyone else. And oh, by the way, the American dream that we have here to come to America, if you live in a foreign country, if they can't achieve that, the next best thing they want to do is come work for an American that treats them properly as opposed to getting beat down verbally in the call center environment that they're building these virtual assistants in other countries for. So you have to be able, willing, and ready to commit to a feedback loop, maybe more. You might have to care more about your virtual employees than you do your live employees because they don't get to hang out at the Christmas party. And so if you can't get those things right, or you're bad at delegation, or you can't find a job description for the last 3 roles you hire because you just kind of shoot from the hip, or what's your training process? Well, people kind of sit with me for a couple of days and then they just figure it out. You ain't going to train a virtual employee that way. You better have a documented, very clear black and white set of expectations, a full-time job for them. And if you don't, you can work with me or a lot of other firms to build those things out. But the idea here is that you should do it tomorrow. Every agency owner on here that doesn't have a virtual assistant chief of staff is missing out on tripling or doubling their own individual productivity. You're talking about being able to sit down at your desk in the morning, right when you sign in, and your emails are flagged and the drafts back to customers or team members are already done so that you can go be an agency owner and not a task manager. So it is still, it's wild to me why people won't embrace this, but yet they'll go hire an $80,000 CSR to come do quotes all day. It's just the economics of buying this highly professional. By the way, these are good people with college degrees and they've spent time selling or on the phones and call centers. They know how to say yes and no and do it politely. And a lot of them have very mitigated accents. If you're not doing this, if you're not engaging with virtual assistants, you're missing the boat. You're missing the boat.
Jeff, anything you want to add?
Well, like a company like Farmers just added this where they're able to have virtual assistants, right? And there's some companies in the captive side that still can't, or they just, if they're going to do it, they have to use their service team on the corporate side. So yeah, I mean, the independent agents that are on here, I mean, you got an advantage. I would absolutely take advantage of that. We have our own virtual assistants here, and listen, are they coming on the company cruise? No, but do they feel part of the culture? Absolutely. They're on our morning meetings. They're in our chats, right? And it's so much fun having them on there, right? And we learn from them, they learn from us, right? So they're pretty close with us, but our company is more remote. So, I think that's sometimes people get scared. Oh, the culture won't be there. Man, our culture is better now than it was when we were in the office. There's no drama now, right? So, yeah, I would say absolutely. I think virtual assistants are great. Obviously, we don't at Ideal Traits help you hire for those positions, so I can't speak to it like Davey could.
Yeah. I mean, we have 2 employees now that are in Colombia. They're phenomenal. I was, and maybe some of you guys are in the same boat. For a long time, I was like, no, I'm hiring in the US. I'm not sending jobs overseas.
Yeah.
So if some of you have that opinion of that, that's fine. But what I would say is the longer you're a business owner, the more you look at everything very strategically, and talent and availability of the workforce and the cost in the States is a very real hurdle for small businesses. So it's regardless of how you feel about hiring overseas, think about the actual facts in your business. Is it going to benefit your business? Can you help your community more? Can you actually create more jobs because some of the support you get is overseas? Most of the time, the answer to that is yes. And you can find amazing, like highly qualified, great professionals in all countries around the world. They're not exclusive to the United States, I promise you. Actually, if you look at education, we're probably on the bottom end of that, right? Because we're horrible for education in our country across the world. So you're probably going to get better educated applicants overseas. So just don't put yourself in the same box that I did. I regretted it. I wish I would have made the change sooner. And I will tell you that the large agencies we work with that are doing well over $10 million in revenue, they have a whole like department of virtual employees overseas who really take a lot of work off of the agency with helping to provide that profit margin still with the business, but they have to wrap them into culture. Just like both of you guys said, the VA company, they're not responsible for training or managing these people for you. It's still up to you to make them successful in your business.
It's a retention nightmare. Like what do you want to pay for your service tasks, your quotes and your billing and your COI? You can pay an American $80,000 for that plus benefits and be subject to discrimination lawsuits or wrongful termination lawsuits when they eventually get sick of doing that. Yeah, go knock yourself out or pay 20 or 30 and have somebody that you can fire in 30 days if they don't work out and replace with somebody else will. I mean, look, there shouldn't be an illusion that VAs are the silver bullet, but why would you not widen your hiring pool for the least attractive tasks? And
Boom.
this is going to answer Anthony's question. What are some of the lead generators that are widely successful? People in your community, because you're insurance agents that live in your communities. So go find people that are networkers or salespeople in your community and let the VAs do all the busy work so that the people in your community can find you the best lead. That's the best lead generator I've ever found, is somebody in a community that will bring people to your brand, people and community, as opposed to anything else.
All right. So next section we're going to talk about is onboarding. So we've talked about, bringing in like the job ads, the culture. We have talked about a lot of topics, employees in the States, personality assessments. You have them. You found them. You found the perfect applicant, right? And now it's their first day. Onboarding usually is where new hires kind of go to die in most businesses. Maybe you guys disagree, but that's just my opinion. So, what are some things that agents can do to make sure that onboarding is really strong and that they solidify that hire? And then also, what does that first, couple months look like? What should it look like?
I would say this, and I'll just go quick on this one because if they have a mentor or someone that's assigned to them, or they're getting onboarded with another person, that's huge because they can role play with them and they have someone that is can hold them accountable, right? It depends the agency size. If it's just two or three people, well, guess what? They're with them every day. But if you have 10 people at the office, you really want to make sure that new hire comes in and they feel a part of the culture right away. But everyone's on board. Everyone knows the expectations. Everyone knows, what the goal is, team goal, but then an individual goal. And I'm really big on like companies like Insurance Sales Lab, RPOA, right? And there's a lot of them out there, and having a training platform, especially for new employees that come in, because you're not going to be able to train all the time. And in fact, you training them all the time, I don't know if that's the best route as you scale, right?
You mean that
Um,
insurance agency owners aren't phenomenal trainers?
well, even if they are though, like record yourself and have
Okay.
AI do it, right? Like it just doesn't make sense to me. If you're spending the owner spending a lot of their time doing the training, I get the mentorship and I get having FaceTime. Like they feel more important, but if you're doing it 2 hours a day, ooh, right? So I'm curious what Davey says, but absolutely like start using more AI, use training platforms so that invest in it so that you can still do what you do best and you don't have to feel like you're hiring this new person and now like all your time's going into them. I talk to so many agents, Mariah, that are like, well, I'm bringing on a new person, so now I can't do this, I can't go on vacation, I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't. And I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like you should be bringing on a new person all the time. Like it shouldn't have to feel like that.
Hmm.
So but
I,
that
I
gets
would
back to having processes in place.
I would just say prioritize experiential training. And what I mean by that is expose new hires to as many live at bats as possible, live calls, live meetings, get them into the conversations about your business. Even if they've come from insurance, they need to know how you present. And so prioritizing ride-alongs and dual headsets on phone calls where there's a deep and intentional kind of immersing of that person into the business. And again, what gets wrong, and sorry, I have to hug my son, he's about to leave.
Don't ever be sorry. Family first, always, right? That's why most of us own insurance
That's right.
agencies for family.
But the experiential training, and immersing them. And if you, Michael put in here, here's your desk, get to work. If you don't have a couple weeks at least of immersive training with, to Jeff's point, documented procedures, how are they ever going to pick up what your standard is that you're trying? Even if you are the owner doing the training, is it sitting at your desk doing quotes? Or are they going out and knocking doors and shaking hands or meeting with current clients or processing renewals? Get your people, doesn't matter what level, into the conversations of your business, the tough conversations with people who are mad, that have billing issues. That's how you paint the picture, not only from an adoption standpoint and onboarding, but retention. If you let them know upfront what the problems are, they're going to deal with them better when they're on their own because they're going to see how you dealt with them. Most people, when they start a new job, don't want to be a crappy employee. They just lose their way because they lose connection with their hiring manager or their owner, or they lose focus of the mission.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And Jeff mentioned some additional like great opportunities and like courses that you can put your staff through as well, right? I think that I don't actually ever think that it's been easier to train any employee than it is today with the use of AI, with things like, ISL and RPOA and, Craig Wiggins coaching and all of Weaver Sales Academy. There's tons of opportunities for you to find what fits how you want to do business, put them in front of material, and then bring them along when you are having those conversations. Because there's a lot of your day where you're not having those conversations that Davey's mentioning, right? But they should be in front of other opportunities, and even things like AI. You can record everything, you can give feedback and coaching. Like it really is so much simpler now, you guys, but you do got to have a plan. No
There's
plan, like
companies now, sorry to interrupt, Mariah, but there's companies now that will literally give you a knowledge base. Like it can tell the employees what to say in a live call. So yeah,
real-time
it's super
guidance. Yeah.
exciting.
There's a
Right.
couple tools that are real-time guidance that are live right now, and they're just going to get more and more popular. Right now they're rare, but they're going to continue to blow up because if you're on the phone, it can be listening and tell you what to say next. It could guide you through your next steps in your computer. It's never been easier to train, but if you are doing it the old school way and then you're wondering why people don't make it to their goals and they don't make it past their 90 days, goes back to your process, right? So if you can find those great applicants, put everything into them, because look at how much energy you had to put in just to find them. That's
Yeah.
really difficult. So we are at our hour. I am okay to stay a little bit longer if you guys are. I wanted to open up some more
Yeah.
Q&A. And the last kind of thing that we had as far as a topic. So I'm going to tell you guys, hey, any questions you have, chat them in right now as we wrap up. The last topic we had there is really like on keeping people. So I think we've hit on a lot of these key pieces already, but Davey, Jeff, anything you want to add about keeping people now that we've onboarded them in a great way?
So I'll let Davey talk more about that. I don't mean to shift it, but I did see ghosting on there. This has been a huge thing that I've been working on with prospects getting converted to clients. The first couple things I would look up, and this is probably to keep people too, but make sure you obviously have a good website, but your Indeed reviews and your Google reviews, like those are more important than you think. It's not just for getting business. Um, I have so many people that told me they've gotten ghosted, and then they like I tell them to look at their Indeed reviews, and like there was just one or two people that put just awful reviews about them. And so I told them like have people report it, right? You can't control that. So have them report it and get it off of there. And then in terms of actually helping you, in terms of like that ghosting part of having them not ghost you, because there's going to be a percentage of people that do it no matter what. It's just going to happen. But how do you reduce it? Absolutely have a text message go out. 98% open rate. Studies show that they are less likely to ghost if you start texting them early on and having them do something like an assessment. If it's not an assessment, have them do something 20 to 40 minutes so they show a commitment before getting to that interview. Absolutely won't eliminate ghosting as a whole, but it will reduce it dramatically. And so, to Mariah's point about how do you keep people? Well, make sure to have check-ins with them. We have a new tool called Pulse, Mariah. I don't know if you've used it, but it's really helped our clients out in terms of, especially with new employees, spotting trends early. So some of our agents will send it out weekly. And what it happens is it's a minute survey. Anything over a minute, we found people don't do as much, but it's a minute survey and it ranks, hey, 1 to 6 on a scale. Appreciation, right? Support, and so on. There's like 5 items, but they just rank it and they just talk about and they give comments on how things are going. Now, a lot of people are just going to put a 6 and not be totally honest with you, but you will see some really good feedback and crucial feedback that if you didn't see it early, guess what? They're either just going to quit unexpectedly because that's the world we live in, or they're going to spread drama in the agency if you don't get it quick enough. So it's called Pulse. You can use it with us. There's a lot of type surveys out there. Look it up. Definitely something good if you want to keep people and make sure people are happy.
Love it. Davey, anything? How do we keep people in the agency that you want to add that we haven't talked about? And then we have a few questions.
Muted.
Yeah, you're muted. Oh, I thought you knew. Sorry. Good call, Jeff.
It's
Yeah.
it's so culture. It's so culture. And it's
Yeah.
such an overused piece of verbiage when we're talking about how to fix your business. Well, you got to have better culture. Well, but listen, here's what I mean by that. Do your employees trust you? They trust you. And if you can't unequivocally say yes, you have a problem that you have not fixed. They have to be able to trust you. They have to be able to give you bad news without your ego taking over, without you freaking out and changing the entire operation or the tech stack, that they are a collaborator in the success of your business. And you need to teach them that failure is okay as long as we improve. And when you do that, when somebody really feels like they're a partner, I tell people in the beginning when they come into organizations, hey, you just joined this organization. You have the best set of eyes to see things that us long timers can't see anymore. That immediately in the beginning shows them that you are willing to take their constructive criticism. Here's the rule I always tell people. You can always tell me anything you want about anything I'm doing wrong. You don't like my hair, the hat's behind me, I speak too authoritatively. I don't care. As long as you do it with 2 rules. Number 1, deliver the feedback with respect and professionalism. And 2, the intent to improve the business. If you think my hair is hurting our sales calls, tell me, I'll fix it. And if you build that trust with your employee over and over, the CRM sucks. It's not automated because we haven't hired Mariah. Hey, our carrier stack is bad. Hey, I want to go to that networking event because I think I'll really be able to bring in some business. Okay. If your employees can't tell you what's wrong with your business, they will quit you. They will quit you and they will probably take less money to go with someone who's not a jerk.
I'm going to add one thing to that. I would also add, in addition to the trust comment, do you trust your employees? Because if you do not, like I would trust any of my employees to pick my kids up from school. My assistant stays in my house sometimes and house sits. I have stuff
Well,
saved in
how
our
long
password
are they working
keeper.
for you? How long are they working for you though?
I don't care who it is. If you don't trust them, if something in your gut tells you that you shouldn't trust them, they shouldn't work for you.
Hmm.
I can't tell you how much like that has been true over my entire career. I've been a business owner for 12 years. I was in management for 4 years prior to that. And the number of people that I knew in my gut shouldn't be there, that I just kept for whatever reason. Oh, they make a lot of money. They've been here for their tenure. Oh, I'm scared to fire them. Oh, I don't know. Like every single time, every time I knew because I didn't trust them. They have to trust you and you have to trust them. And then you have the right team. Okay, we have a couple questions. I want to make sure everybody knows how to reach you, Davey, and Jeff, of course, as well. And I've got a couple other last minute pieces for you guys. So I want to point out a couple things that were in the chat. We had a question about, can you elaborate more providing leads to sales folks today? I think in general, you guys, that topic was really good salespeople shouldn't also have to be responsible for marketing. Marketing and sales are 2 different jobs. two different pieces of your business. The most successful agencies that all three of us get to talk to, who are doing millions in revenue and growing and scaling and buying agencies, their producers are usually not the marketers, like 99% of the time. So that's what we kind of meant in general there.
Have a budget set aside for marketing, internet leads, mailers, whatever, for your people.
Yeah.
I'd even say deeper, sometimes your business development to get the leads and get them to the appointment or get them to the closing appointment is separate than the closer. You're thinking about commercial insurance. I don't know that I want my highly technical commercial insurance producer who's really good in front of clients to be sitting on the phone and calling
cold calling and following
garages.
up with,
You know what I mean?
if they cancel.
Goes back to that personality assessment, put people in the right places.
Yeah.
Michael mentioned Glassdoor reviews. That's another great place to check. Jeff, you were saying ideal traits,
Yeah,
Google,
good call.
your
Good call.
social calling card, right? What does the digital world say about your business? Huge in your hiring process. All right. So Jeff, how can people reach you?
So Jeff at idealtraits.com, but I'm going to send my calendar link. And then I also have a competitor benchmark report and a couple free tools I can send you guys, ROI staffing calculator, and a couple videos to watch about the assessment that should be helpful. So I'll get that out there, and anyone who wants to know more, just email me and I can send that to you.
Okay, so we'll put your email in the YouTube recording for those of you who are watching the recording, so you can get a hold of Jeff and ask for that. Those of you who are here live, will you actually start typing in your email addresses in this chat? And I promise you're going to want that for a couple of reasons. We have some freebies for you guys. So go ahead and put your email in the chat if you want to take advantage of that. Davey, how do people reach you?
My calendar link is in the chat, and that's where a lot of people start with me. It's just a 30-minute meeting. I can veer off in a couple different ways. With a business partner, that hat right there, and I run an insurance agent mastermind group called AI Rockstars. You can go there by going to theairockstars.com. That's a paid mastermind group of a bunch of tip of the spear, front-facing insurance agents that focus on AI. But if AI is not your thing, or mastermind communities are not your thing, you can work with me directly. I also have my website, daveyholt.com. But for everybody here, like Jeff, grab my calendar link from the chat, and I'd love to collaborate with you. I'm an AI focused business coach that has just had over 10 years now in the independent agency space. And I'd love to spitball with anybody on and help them in any way I can.
Awesome. All right, guys, keep getting those email addresses in there if you haven't done it yet, because pretty soon I'm going to save that chat and that's going to be the list. So obviously I'm with Accelerated Automation. This is going to be on our YouTube channel for anyone who wants to go back and watch it, and you'll be able to reach all of us in the links below. For everyone that's here live, I'm going to provide a free recruiting pipeline for your Agency Zoom CRM. If you don't use Agency Zoom, we will provide it to you in a document that's going to give you the process. This is a way for you to organize your recruiting funnel and really create a funnel. Your applicants, whittle down with those assessments, those video interviews that you can do through Ideal Traits and so many other ways, and get those ideal applicants in front of you, and then manage and organize that process while sending automation to those candidates, so you look like a much more large, professional, amazing organization that they want to be part of, setting that expectation from the front end. So we're going to give that to you guys for free for being here. Make sure you get your email addresses in the chat. I'm going to grab it here in like 3, 2, 1 to get everybody. Okay, save. That is everybody. Thank you guys so much for being here. I appreciate it so much. And we'll have to do this again sometime soon.
Let's do it. Thanks, Mariah.
Thanks, team.
Bye, guys.
Good to see you, Davey.